Here's a rewritten and rephrased version of the article, maintaining its original information while improving clarity, structure, and tone. Top Trump advisor hopes for zero tariffs with EU amid global fallout. One of President Trump's most senior advisors has voiced optimism for a future of zero tariffs between the United States and the European Union, even as Trump's aggressive new trade policies begin to take effect. Speaking via video link at a political conference in Italy, Elon Musk expressed his vision of a free trade zone between the US and EU. However, under the current policies, European exports to the US are facing a 20% import tax. World leaders have been quick to respond to the shifting trade landscape. British Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer and French President Emmanuel Macron have pledged to align their responses to any retaliatory measures. Meanwhile, mass protests have erupted in dozens of US cities, with tens of thousands marching against Trump and his administration following his return to the White House. Australia caught in the crossfire. Joining BBC News to discuss the broader implications, Peter Draper, Executive Director of the Institute for International Trade at the University of Adelaide, addressed Australia's response to the new tariffs. Australia is now subject to a 10% baseline tariff on its exports to the US. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese has opted not to retaliate with tariffs of his own. Draper supported this stance, calling it the right decision, noting that retaliation would likely backfire and lead to further US countermeasures. There's no winning move here, Draper explained. Instead, the government is doubling down on long-standing efforts to diversify trade and build economic resilience. Australia is in a delicate position, often walking a tightrope between its strategic alliance with the US and its economic ties with China. Draper emphasized this balancing act, recalling that just a few years ago, China applied economic pressure on Australia, at a time when 40% of its exports were China-bound. In contrast, only about 5% of Australian exports go to the US, making the new American tariff less impactful in comparison. This trade war is pushing the Indo-Pacific region closer to China, Draper warned, highlighting that the current environment could allow China to strengthen its regional influence at the US's expense. Strains on the US-Australia relationship. Draper also voiced concern about the broader implications for the US-Australia alliance. Yes, we're a key security ally, but we're not alone. Countries like Japan, South Korea, and the Philippines are also uneasy, he said. He pointed to the growing influence of the far right in US foreign policy and the rising tide of isolationism. Referencing the influential Australian book Fear of Abandonment, Draper noted that anxiety over being left without a reliable ally is now a major issue in Australia's foreign policy thinking. Scottish exports feeling the heat in the US. Scotland, known for premium exports like whisky and salmon, is also bracing for impact. In New York, where Scottish products enjoy a solid market, businesses are concerned. At the Caledonia Bar, which stocks 130 types of Scotch whisky, owner Jeff Winslow from Greenock said rising costs may force them to shift toward American-made spirits like bourbon. If the Scotch doesn't sell because of price hikes, we'll have to pivot, Winslow said. We hope Scotch doesn't become a relic on our shelves. Scottish salmon exporters are also feeling the pinch. Stephen Wong, a Manhattan fish wholesaler, sells large quantities of Scottish salmon to high-end restaurants. He plans to continue despite the tariffs, noting that the US lacks a strong domestic aquaculture industry for salmon. We rely on imported farmed fish, Wong explained. It's not something we can easily replace. A pricey future for Scottish goods in America as tariffs raise costs. Businesses and trade bodies are urging for reductions or removal. Still, many recognize they must adapt. Tariffs are always a hurdle, said a representative of a Scottish business chamber. But it's our job to help the economy navigate through this. In a city already known for high prices, Scottish imports may soon carry even steeper tags, adding to the uncertainty for exporters looking to keep their foothold in the US market. David Wallace Lockhart, BBC News, New York. Would you like this rephrased article formatted for a blog, newsletter, or another type of publication?